Today, my special guest is AE Stueve. He is a former comic book writer, a horror author, and a photographer. I think he does more than that, and we kind of touch on all of that during the interview. I got introduced to AE Stueve through the Writers Studio of Corpus Christi. The very lovely Sarah K. Lenz, who runs the Writers Studio, is always trying to bring in new and interesting people to the Writers Studio. So she decided to call up an old buddy in AE Stueve. So he will be teaching a class April 24th. If you're getting this a little later than that, then I am sorry. Work got in the way. But there is a link in the description where you can visit the Writers Studio website, sign up, and you'll never miss another class again. Everything's virtual, so it's a lot of fun whenever you can learn about writing from the comfort of your own home. Well, that's all I got. So I hope you enjoy my talk with AE Stueve, and feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. Tell everybody you know about it. And I will see you guys again soon. Yeah. So you're going to be teaching this Saturday at the Writer Studio here in my hometown of Corpus Christi.
Yep.
So I suppose you're friends with someone there from the Writers Studio.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm friends with the lenses. Is that how you say there? Like I went to graduate school with Kent, and I don't know, we were talking a while ago, and I guess they were looking for to include more like horror stuff in their repertoire or whatever. And so they were like, "You write horror. Do you want to do one?" And I was like, "What else am I doing on Saturday afternoon?"
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about your work. Like what have you done?
Okay. I guess you could say I started in comics. I wrote this comic called The Legend of Isis for a few years, a long time ago, and I kind of got away from comics. I don't know. I didn't really like the what's the word? I guess the corporate side of it. I wasn't really.
Who's it for?
Legend of Isis was it started out at Image, and then the publisher left Image. So I don't know, some of my books might be under Image and some of them are under like Blue Water, but I don't even think Blue Water is a thing anymore. But I started there doing that, and I liked the writing, but I didn't like some of the other stuff. You know, it was work for hire, and I don't know, I wasn't feeling it. And then I just started writing short stories and stuff. And my first, like, I guess it's a novella. It's a hybrid graphic novel, prose, and it's got footnotes and an unofficial soundtrack. It's just, hey, all this different stuff that I like, I'm just going to throw it in.
Yeah.
And so that was my first big published work. It's called The ABCs of Dinkology. And it's not really horror. It has horror elements, but it's not really horror. And I have 3 of those because it's a trilogy. And then I have a novel. Actually, part of it, it's funny, part of it is set in Corpus Christi, which I visited once, and I was like, I like this town. I'm going to set a story here. And I have a zombie novel called Former, and I thought it was some, I don't know, beautiful irony. I made Corpus Christi like a safe haven, like the people in the city have figured out how to make it like a totally safe zone. And I thought, Body of Christ, I thought that was, I don't know.
Yeah. what's his name? The guy that did Donnie Darko. Um, I cannot remember his name right now.
Yeah, I
Uh,
don't either.
but he had a movie written for a while called Corpus Christi, and yeah, and everybody thought that he was going to come over here and film it, but I mean that was back in like 2008 or something like that. I
Yeah.
don't know whatever happened to it, but yeah, but that's funny
Well,
because
I think he
that's
missed an opportunity.
yeah. Yeah. So okay, so you have those works.
Mhm.
Anything else?
I mean, short stories, poetry. I used to do some journalism. I wrote for a couple of different websites, mostly like reviews and things like that. I do have something coming out. Me and three other horror writers, we each have a story. I just signed the contract for it. It's a seasonal theme. Like my story takes place in fall. One is in the summer, one is in the spring, one is in the winter. I don't know how much I'm allowed to say about it, but I know I think I can tell you that much. So I have that,
Yeah.
and it's tentatively scheduled to be released around Halloween this year. So
Oh, cool.
got my fingers crossed. If all the writers don't make that deadline, I think it'll be Halloween next year, which still cool, but it's not as cool.
Yeah.
So far away.
Yeah. It's funny hearing your story. It kind of mirrors mine. I used to work in comics in San Antonio. I worked for the indie publisher Antarctic Press,
Oh,
who
cool. Yeah.
yeah. They got some recognition because the Warrior Nun Ariala uh, TV show on Netflix kicked off. They didn't really mention Antarctic Press during any of their press, but
Oh,
but yeah, but it's like I was there, so I know. And I used to help do colors. I used to run their website. I used to fill in from time to time. I used to draw covers also.
cool.
So so yeah, so I went from there to moving back down to my hometown of Beeville. My well, I guess that technically is my real hometown. Beeville's like a super small town, 40 minutes from Corpus, and I went there. I was already writing short stories and screenplays. So whenever I got back down to my hometown, I was looking around. You know, after living in San Antonio for so long, I was just looking around the small town, and I'm like, man, I can film a movie here. You know,
Nice.
and no one is going to bother me. You know, like I could just call up the cops and be like, "Hey, I'm going to be down the street with a baseball bat and a shotgun. So don't worry, it's just us." And and so that's what I did, and that came out 11 years ago. That's this movie right here. We just released it on YouTube for free, and we just hit 1,000 views last night, like around
Nice.
midnight. Yeah.
I was looking on your Instagram and I saw that. I was like, I have to watch this movie. So it's on my list, man. I'm watching it.
Awesome. And then so then from there I went to I just have always been writing. So I was writing all these short stories, and then I wrote a couple of novels, and then I realized like that I'm probably gonna have to self-publish, you know,
Mm.
and I didn't know how to do it. So I didn't want to like ruin my novels learning how to do it. So then I wrote a novella, which is, where's that at? Right here? Right there. Yeah. I wear my sunglasses at night. So I wrote that novella. It's part one of a trilogy. And then we released it, and then COVID happened. So
Mm.
then yeah, like all last year, I didn't write until like November or December when I wrote my when I wrote another novel. And yeah, like last year was just hard. I don't know how it was for you and your writing.
Oh, oh man. Uh, Last year was particularly difficult I know it was hard for everybody. I get that. I By the end of the year, I had 5 surgeries, and I have 9 new scars on my body from what happened to me in 2020. So
Oh no.
Yeah, it was a rough year. I got to, I don't know if you can see, you probably can't really see it.
Oh, no, yeah, I see it.
I got this rare infection in my thumb called Mycobacterium colonae, and it required several different medicinal cocktails, 3 surgeries. And then they discovered that I was born with a congenital heart defect, and it was killing me. They were like, you have maybe 5 or 10 years left if we don't fix this. And just, and then they also discovered that the medicine that I was on for my infection had completely calcified my gallbladder. So they also had to take that out. So I had 3 surgeries on my hand, open heart surgery, and gallbladder removal, all within the span of like 8 months.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. So 2020 was it was really rough for me, and I got to it started. I got the infection in January, and I started having to go to the hospital in January, and I got to watch as like the protocols and stuff got more and more strict and more severe. So like when I first went, my wife came with me and we walked into the hospital, and and then like the second time she could go with me, but we both had to wear masks. And then it like by the time of I think my second surgery, I was alone. I was like, they were shut down. So yeah, 2020 was rough.
You don't say. Wow. That's crazy. Yeah. I also got my gallbladder removed in 2020. I got a back injection, and I just recently had a knee surgery, so I'm actually in a brace right now.
Oof.
So, but yeah, so while definitely not as bad as yours, yeah, 2020. So,
I'm sorry. I was going to say though, I had to admit, I teach too. I'm in a classroom right now. My infection happened at when they didn't really know what COVID was, when they were figuring out, right? And so they were like, we need you to stay away from everything and everybody. So I missed I think I taught 2 weeks of third quarter last year, and then fourth quarter we shut down. There was no school. And then I had my heart surgery in August. So I didn't have a lot of teaching. And with this guy, I was just at home, and I didn't feel sick. I wasn't like on super painkillers or anything. So I actually had a lot of time to write. Okay. I wrote a lot. Is any of it that good? I don't know. Maybe some of it. But yeah, I wrote tons. Not a lot after the heart surgery, but when I was doing this, I wrote a lot.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. I just, last year I have 3 kids, little kids. So, yeah, just trying to figure this all out and trying to keep them safe. And, there was just that part of my brain that just stopped working, which was really strange, because it was the first time in my whole life where that part just wasn't kicking.
I get it, man. Strange times. I have a 18-year-old and a 15-year-old, and my 18-year-old is not very sociable anyway. So like this pandemic was made for him. He's like, yeah, I don't need to go anywhere.
Yeah.
But my 15-year-old, the exact opposite. So there's some struggles there.
Oh yeah, I bet. So going back to writing for a little bit. So like, what made you want to start writing?
It's hard to say, honestly. I feel like I learned how to read with comics, like Spider-Man comics, Avengers, X-Men, Batman, and I can kind of remember when I was like 6 or 7, realizing that the stories that I was reading were written by somebody, like they didn't just fall out of thin air. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't remember how old I was when it I don't know, 4, 5, 6, it dawned on me that somebody did this, and I was like, oh, that's cool. That's it. That's what I would like to do. And then I started doing it. You know, I still have my first like little book that I made. Like it's got this cardboard, and it's called like Snowman Attacks, and it's like about some mutant snowman that I have to kill. But I still have it, so it's been a long time.
So whenever you were working at Image, did you get to meet the big Image guys? You know, like
No, and
no.
I didn't. I don't. It might not have even been. I don't remember what banner it was. Like if it was even under Image when I was writing. I just like the guy that ran the company. I can't even remember his name right now. He was a cool guy. I don't want anybody to think that I'm out here being like, man, I hate these people.
Yeah.
But I just, he would call me and be like, hey, we want a 6-issue story. We want this to happen and this to happen. Other than that, you can do whatever you want. And I did it. And I don't know. I didn't like the vibe. I don't know. I was like, if I want to do this, I would want to do it myself, like my way, I guess. Maybe it was like corporate run. Maybe I wouldn't I say it'd be fun to write Spider-Man, but maybe I really wouldn't. Maybe, you know what I mean? Maybe the editorial direction was just,
well, I mean, then it's like, imagine like all the restrictions and things that they would put on you, like,
right?
oh, Spider-Man can't do that, or he can't do that, especially like someone that's not a big comic writer, like, because I'm pretty sure there's a handful of guys that could go in there and do whatever they want, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah. I don't think I'm one of those guys.
so are you traditionally published with your stuff?
Yeah. My first book was through a college press. And then the sequels, a local publisher.
Okay.
And then for my zombie novel, Former, I just sent it out to a bunch of different places. Like, I mean, I did that whole routine, make your list and decide where you think and I would send it to agents and I would send it to publishers, and finally got a bite.
Oh yeah. Well, that's good. That's not a lot of us can say that.
It's I don't man, I don't know. I sometimes I think maybe I should have just self-published some of it, just more control,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like I felt like I've been like strong-armed into doing anything I don't want to do, but
Yeah.
I know I have friends that like straight self-publish all the time, and they, you don't make a lot of money, but you don't make a lot of money doing any of this, right? But God, to have like 100% control of everything, that's got to be kind of nice. I don't know.
Well,
I see.
it is, but then again, like there's a lot of work that you have to do. But then, but then if you look at it on the other end, if somebody publishes your book, well, then how do you know how much work they're doing to promote your
right.
book? So yeah, it's kind of like you might as well just do it yourself and put in the work. And if it doesn't sell, well, then maybe you're not doing enough work, or maybe because I know for me, I researched self-publishing for an entire year. I looked into like ads. I'm a graphic artist also, so like I make everything myself. I do my own book covers, do all that stuff.
Nice.
So it's
Really cool.
So, yes. So it was really, really easy for me to kind of build all these things to promote myself. And yeah, I mean, it took a whole year before I could figure it out. And then I was like, okay, I think I got a handle on it. And then you go and you release your book and you put out the ads and you hit up the social media, you hit up the book reviewers, and then you sell like 20 copies.
That's, you know what? I tell my writing students though, just finishing a book is huge. Like how many people start books and never finish them, and what's the number of people that say they're going to start a book and never do? So it's like, man, get it out there. However, if you want people to read it, you, man, get it out there however you want to. And 20 more people read your book than read, the schmuck next to you that never published a book,
Yeah, exactly. And it's like a thing that I tell people too, is like, just writing the book isn't even like really the hard part. Yeah, it's funny because it's hard to write a book, but then whenever you get to the end, the harder part comes, like, well, what do I do with it? How do I get people to read it?
Right.
And then that is its own monster in itself,
Monster. So. That's a good word. It is a monster.
So what was your introduction into horror?
It's funny because when I was a kid, like a little kid, like 5 years old, I read comics, right? And I liked superheroes, but I also read like there was this one, Werewolf by Night, and that kind of got me, like, it's kind of scary. And then Ghost Rider, and I was like, okay, I think I like horror. And when I was like 5 or 6, 7, I don't know how old I was, a little kid, it all blurs. I had this notebook and I would just draw monsters and write little, like, oh, this is blah, 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 and he does this. And my parents got it and they were like, you can't be doing this. This is evil. And I was like, oh, man. So I didn't really do it for a while. Like, I wasn't really into it for a while. And my parents were even so, like, I guess conservative, that I didn't get to watch horror. So I was like really scared of it. Like, I'd watch Nightmare on Elm Street and be like, oh my God, this is terrifying. When I'm like 13, and it's really not. I mean, it's ridiculous. And then at some point in my teens, I just was like, you know what? I like Dungeons and Dragons and I like scary movies, and I don't like going to church. So I'm going to start doing the scary stuff. And since then it's been pretty predominant. If I'm writing something, it's probably scary.
Yeah.
Even when I try not to be.
Well, it's like my parents were the opposite. We would go to the video store, and back when they had video stores, and we would me and my older sister, and we'd pick out the like gnarliest looking VHS covers, and then we take them to our parents, like, oh, we want to watch this, and then we get home and it'd be something like, like Friday the 13th or Freddy Krueger, or man, what was that one? There's like this it had a really cool cover where like a Little Red Riding Hood and the werewolf was coming out of her mouth.
The Howling?
What that one was called, but it's like we rented that one a few times. After I do the video, I'll look it up and then I'll put it in here.
Yes.
But yeah, so I grew up watching horror movies, and then one day I picked up Stephen King's Night Shift. I think I was like 8 years old.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. So then I read it, and then I realized, like, wow, like you could be scared reading a book, it's like, I'd get like halfway through some of those stories and I would just stop, because I would read it in my bed at night, and I'd be like, nope, not today. So yeah, do you have a favorite horror author?
Oh man, the class I'm teaching on Saturday, we're gonna look at Shirley Jackson's The Lottery, and
I read that in school, actually.
Yeah. It's like, it made her famous. It's a good story. I want to say like probably Shirley Jackson, but actually, hold on, I have a list on my computer. Hold on, let me find it here.
Did you ever see that Marilyn Manson video that is based on The Lottery?
Yeah. It's good.
Yeah. I watched that video and I was like, wait a minute, this is The Lottery.
I know this story.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Let's see. All right. Oh, I got Edgar Allan Poe at the top. Lovecraft. You got. I mean, you got to
Yeah.
throw Lovecraft. Yeah, Shirley Jackson. Those are the three I have at the top. But then I got a list of movies and characters too.
Yeah. Yeah,
Jeez.
I remember the first time I read a Lovecraft story, I just kind of had to set the book down and be like, huh, okay, interesting.
Disturbing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I like everybody, like grandfather of American horror, and okay, yeah, I see it, but like if I am if I'm like comparing his work to like storytelling standards of the day, it was almost like he wrote scary essays more than he wrote like stories. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and they're I like them, but they're Stephen King tells stories.
Yeah.
I kind of want to be more like him than I do like H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah. 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 I love the things he writes about. I can't really say that I'm a huge fan of his writing either. Edgar Allan Poe, on the other hand, is that was I think we were reading about him in school, but they wouldn't let us read anything by him. So
Oh,
like I went and bought this really thick collection of all of his stuff, and I just tore through that thing. I was like, man, like this guy can write, and
yeah,
just
yeah.
really, really creepy, scary, and like everything. So
I gotta move. Hold on.
we're on the
Classic.
move.
I'm going back to your studio where I won't be heard very well. Okay, sorry about that.
It's all right. So yeah, and then and then like I mean like basically for me it's always been Stephen King ever
Yeah,
since he scared me the first time. You know, I I listened to a Stephen King podcast called the King Cast, where they go and they talk to people about his books and about his movies. And then I realized, like, man, I have not read a lot of Stephen King.
oh yeah.
No, like I haven't. Like I think I started reading Carrie once. Um, I read Under the Dome. Night Shift,
Big
The
one.
Gunslinger.
Under the Dome, really.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah. But I mean, for me, it's like his books kind of took me into the movies, and then like you watch the movies, and I mean, Stephen King's pretty hit or miss whenever it comes to his movies.
Yeah, yeah.
So like that to me kind of opened the door. I mean, I always made movies ever since I was a little kid. Me and my brother, we would get a VHS camcorder, and we would
Nice.
go around shooting movies and stuff. And then I think I only was able to graduate high school because I was making movies instead of writing, like our end of the year essays and stuff like that. So instead I would just go and make movies, and then I learned how to edit by getting two VCRs and putting them together and then pushing play and record on one and all that stuff. And then we got a PlayStation, so then we connected a PlayStation in between those so that we could have sound effects from like a Resident Evil. So
Wow.
yeah, I'm just figuring all this stuff out.
That's
and
awesome.
and so whenever I started connecting the Stephen King books and the Stephen King movies, I just kind of gravitated more towards the movies. And like I said, most of them were pretty disappointing, but
It can be late.
but that led me to screenwriting because just like you with comics, I was like, oh, like somebody has to write this 1st.
Mhm.
You can't just go out and make a movie. Have you done any film work or anything?
Yeah, I teach it too.
Oh, okay.
uh, um, we've had a few. I've produced a few films that have been at like a few film festivals in the area. We did. I don't know if it would. I don't know. I guess it's a drama about a kid that was obsessed with the TV show Lost. It's called Binge, and he's miserable and he loses himself in Lost. and then did a documentary on a runner, cross country or track cross I don't know.
They run.
Yeah, they run. They're fast. Another a scary one about geez, I don't remember what this one's called. A guy kidnaps ladies and puts them in his basement and like tortures them and they escape. God, I can't remember for the life of me. I don't remember what we called it. But yeah, we've done, we did and my book, Former, it was originally a short story, and a filmmaker found it and messaged me one day and was like, hey, can I make this into a movie? And so there's a short film based on basically the first chapter of my book, and I don't know, it went all over the place, and I won a bunch of awards and stuff. I don't know, I didn't see any glory from it, but it's still pretty cool.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I have a bunch of screenplays laying around, and I don't know if you've ever tried this. Have you ever tried turning a screenplay into a book?
No. Have you done that?
I've tried it. You'd think that, because you have like this 90 or 100-page script that it's going to translate into like 100 pages or something, probably more, because you're going to add some description, in there. Yeah. But then you start doing it and it's like formatting it and just trying to, I don't know. It just became a huge task. The two times that I tried. So I just kind of gave up, because I don't know, because it's like, I was in a different mindset whenever I wrote the screenplay. So then a couple of years later, you're trying to get back into it, and then everything's changed, and it's like, I think I'll just leave it there, So
now I know to never try that.
What is your writing process like?
I try to write every day. I don't necessarily do that. Usually when I sit down to write, I took a cue from like artist friends of mine. They always do a warm-up sketch. Like if you're going to sit down and like draw something important or something, like you got commissioned to do something, you always do a warm-up sketch first. So they tell me. And so when I'm about to sit down and do something that I think, hey, this is going to be important, or I'm going to do something with this, I always just write whatever for a little bit. I take like 10-15 minutes and it's like a journal entry, and then I feel like I've primed the pump, and then I dive in, and my process is like, I try to, like when I'm writing a shorter piece, I try to spit it out as fast as I can, like warts and all, and then I go back, and the editing process is the part that takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of headaches, but that's where the art is, right?
Yeah. Do you have like a space in your house? Do you have like an office or anything where you go?
Yep, I do. And I either work there or usually I work there, but sometimes I'll sit at the counter in my kitchen. Like if I have a couple of dogs, and when they were puppies, didn't want them in the office. So like they're on the floor in the kitchen, they can play there, and I can work. But yeah, usually I'm in my office or at the counter.
Yeah, see, I don't have an office, and it's funny because my office is my kitchen counter. So like I have my writing laptop there, and I'm a journalist. So I work, like I have my work computer across the room, and then I have my writing computer at my counter. So it's funny, like whenever you were saying that, like like you write to kind of get in there, to rev up the engine. Well, for me, it's like I write all day. So then, as soon as I get a chance to write, I'm like, okay, cool. And then I just start going, It's funny too, because people are like, well, don't you get tired of writing? I was like, well, my back and my eyes get tired, you know,
But my
but
brain doesn't.
well, it's like you use a different part of your brain, you know, because
Yeah.
it's like this one is like churning out true stories about this lady and her lost dog, you know,
Mhm.
and then whenever I get to sit down and do my own stuff, then it's like, oh yeah, let's get some monsters in there. Let's get the novel that I'm finishing up right now. It's about a haunted house that follows these kids home after they burn it down. I can't tell you anything else about it, but I can tell you that because that's basically the title of the book, The House That Followed Them Home.
Oh,
So
that's cool.
so like whenever I was doing that, like I basically sat down. I turned out the first draft in I think like 5 days, not 5 days in a row, but it was like, you know, because I have 3 kids. So it's like whenever I get a chance, or if I decided I wanted to stay up really late, I would just go and just churn out words, you know, and just keep going and
Mhm.
going. So at the end of those 5 days, I was like, oh look, I have a first draft. Because that too was also supposed to be a short story, and then it got to novella length, and I was like, I could probably keep going. So I kept going, and then I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna, you know, the second draft, I'm going to go ahead and add some more chapters, because like this, even though I got to the end of the story, I felt like it wasn't done yet. You know,
Yeah.
that the characters still had more to talk about, and they still had more to do. So then I was like, okay, well then I'll make it another novel, and
Nice.
yeah. So
Oh, sorry.
all right. So so yeah, so that's basically my writing process. Is I write whenever I can, wherever I can. So
You know, it's funny. People, when my kids were little, they always told me, "Oh, you're gonna miss this." And I don't know, man. My kids are old now, and I don't really miss having to chase them all the time.
yeah, yeah, I wrote my first novella whenever I was having my second child. um I felt like my daughter is 8 years old and my son is 3. So whenever he was coming, I was like, okay, I'm not going to have any time to write. I need to hurry and get this novella out. So so like for like his last the last 4 months, I think, whenever my wife was pregnant, I churned it out and did all the artwork and everything for it, got everything done, getting ready for it to be released, and it came out, I think, whenever he was like 2 months old or something like that, because
Wow.
I knew.
Not gonna have
Yeah,
any time.
yeah. So yeah, and then we just had our daughter, who is, how old is she? I think she's 2. So yeah, so like she had her first birthday during the pandemic,
Oh,
and that was just really
rough.
interesting. Yeah.
I bet. Oh, we did my daughter turned 15 and it was just she had like one friend over and then like
Yeah.
some of her other friends drove by and did the
Yeah.
honk and wave and oh, here's
What
hoping it's something better.
where do you where do you find like the bulk of your inspiration? Like,
Oh man. Um, I don't know, man. I mean, I guess some of it, is taken from, the news and stuff. You're inspired by that. Some of it, my own life. Uh, Not that I've, lived a horror movie life or anything, but like some stuff that happens.
yeah,
But yeah, I don't know. That's a hard one. And sometimes you just are like drive past like a creepy hotel on the highway, and you're like, oh man, what if there's a monster living under that hotel? I bet that'd be cool. I'm gonna write a
yeah,
story, like
yeah. Well, it's like on the guy that I interviewed before you, that the video came out last week. He's a producer. He I don't know if you're familiar with these two movies. One is called Spookies, and the other one is Street Trash. They're from the 80s. They're like crazy gore
oh
movies, practical effects stuff. Really, really cool. But like I was talking to him, and it's something about like creatives, whether you're an artist or a writer, that we just have this strange antenna that is always picking up weird stuff or causing us to look at something slightly different, slightly off kilter from other people, because it's like
Yeah.
you can see like a dog walking across the street, and somebody say, "Oh, look at that puppy," and I would look at it like, "Man, I hope it doesn't get hit." I
Right.
hope it doesn't spray guts everywhere. It's
What?
just it's just a strange thing, me, like, I know, do you consider yourself a horror writer strictly?
No, I wouldn't say strictly. That's like most of my body of work is horror. But like if an idea hits me that's not horror, I'm not gonna like force horror onto it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a pretty hard task sometimes,
It really is. It really is. Sometimes it just is like it comes and it's like, oh, I guess this isn't a love story anymore. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, because it's like I have two published works that are not horror. One is well, I mean, I guess they're both love stories, but they're just kind of weird love stories. Like,
Mhm.
one is this guy who's really depressed, and there's an actual cloud that follows him above his head. So then
Oh,
he meets this girl that also has a cloud above her head, and then like they accidentally bump into each other, and the clouds bump, and there's a little bit of electricity between them, and then they end up like going off and falling in love, and then the ending is really, really sad. So but it's just a short story, and it's all told as he's making his way to a funeral. The book is called, or the short story is called the A Funeral Singer. So which is what he does, and that I still want to turn into a novel. But yeah, just writing that, it's like I couldn't write a straight love story. It had to be something weird, like where everybody's looking at his cloud, that's hanging above his head and stuff. So, but that's like the great thing about making movies, and I mean writing books opposed to making movies, because you can write whatever you want. You can write a $500 million movie
mm-hmm.
and not have to worry about the budget.
Yep. Yep. I've often thought about that. Yeah.
And like whenever I made my first movie, the screenplay, because like we didn't know how much money we were going to have to make it. So like that, the first version I wrote was like a $60 million version, and then whenever we started to get locations and get our cast, you started seeing it go down and down and down, and and it went down so much that we ended up getting $4,000 to make the movie, and we ended up only spending 3,600. So
Hey, that's a success right there.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. But it's like that's something I always think about whenever I'm writing, because people will be like, "Oh man, this would be a cool TV show, or this would be a cool movie," and I'm like, "Well, I'm not going to make it because it's
yeah.
going to be expensive."
Yeah. Somebody else can do that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
As I have lots of film students, and I think that's like they're always shocked. Like they're not shocked that like Avengers cost millions of dollars to make, but like
yeah.
they're shocked when we go to like an indie film premiere and the guy's like, yeah, this movie cost me $100,000 to make. What? I told you guys it's expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was cool because for my second feature, which is there's just a whole shitty story to that, but I had a $10,000 to make it, and like I thought I was like rolling in the big bucks,
Mhm.
and then yeah, like I think the first day of production, about 80% of that was gone.
Oh.
You pay all these people that show up to work, and you're getting hotels and this and
Mhm.
that, and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, okay, so this is what I have to make a movie with, huh? But
Oh.
yeah, and like the reason why we got to make my first feature, for that little amount of money. Is I was a writer, I was the director, I was shooting the movie, I was the editor. I'm even in the movie because we didn't have enough people. I did some stunts on the movie,
Jeez,
so yeah, I mean,
sounds like a labor of love.
yeah, I mean, it was kind of, to me, it was like I wanted to make a movie. And
Yeah.
the way I learned how to make a movie was through watching all the behind the scenes stuff, listening to commentaries on DVDs.
Hmm.
And yeah, like I just got all that knowledge and just kind of threw it out there. I'm like, I think I know how to do this. And then I went and did it. And yeah.
That's awesome. If more people figured that out, I would be out of a job. So
Yeah, I had whenever we were out to film festivals, people would be like, "Oh, where'd you go to film school?" I was like, "Well, it's right here. It's the movie that we're showing." Like that's how I learned, you know?
nice.
Yeah. Well, who are some of your favorite horror directors?
Uh, Craven,
Oh
right?
yeah.
That's Craven. I don't know. Their films are they're not all they're not horror. Sometimes they're thrillers, sometimes they're comedies. The Coen brothers, I think
Oh yeah.
they're great. Um, I
One of
can't
the
think of.
one of the greatest villains, I think, was in No Country for Old Men.
Oh,
Like, like how can you have a bad guy with a stupid haircut that is just like crazy scary,
so terrifying. I've really liked Jordan Peele's movies, Us and Get Out,
wasn't
and then
wasn't that a surprise whenever he said he was going to be making horror movies? I was laughing. I was like, come on, man.
because of that ridiculous show, like no
Yeah.
way. It was, and then Twilight Zone. I watched Twilight Zone too, and there's a Christmas episode of his Twilight Zone that freaky, oh so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably them. Yeah, Peele, Craven, Coen
No,
Brothers.
there's no Hitchcock on there.
Oh, I mean, yeah, Hitchcock. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I remember the first time I watched The Birds. I mean, I was like a little kid and I thought it was so dumb. I was like, okay, this movie about a bunch of birds, like, okay.
Hmm.
And then you watch it and you're like, wow, this movie's awesome and
Yeah,
really
yeah.
scary.
That was that was a movie my mom wouldn't let me watch she was like, it's so scary. You can't watch this movie when I was little. And then when I was just like, I'm doing it. I don't even care anymore. That was one. And when I first watched it, I was a little bit like, ah, this guy's he's a famous director. These birds are fake. I don't, but like, you get sucked in, right? Like you're like, oh man, this is legit scary. These
Yeah.
birds are gonna kill all these people.
Yeah. I watched it the other day too. I guess like a few weeks ago. And I was like, man, like this is a well done movie,
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know. It's kind of hard to call it a horror movie because it's birds.
Yeah, yeah.
But
And I've often wondered, like, what would he do now with a movie like that? Like, would it be better with like better special effects, or like, is that part
yeah,
of why it's so good? Because like, I don't know.
yeah, that's interesting.
Did you see the Psycho remake? That was like a shot for shot remake with
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Vince
With
Vaughn.
with Vince Vaughn, yeah,
It was cool because like it was literally a shot for shot remake, and that
yeah,
was kind of cool. But like, was it? Did it improve upon the like? Was it better? Like, if you're gonna remake something, make it better, right? Like that isn't that why you would
yeah.
make it?
That was the question I had at the end of it. Whenever it was all done, I was just like, okay, why did they do this?
Yeah, yeah. Like if you're not gonna make it better, maybe at least make it different. And it's like the same movie.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I I didn't understand that either.
Yeah. I mean, I don't dislike it. I mean, I know a lot of people just like piled on that film, hated it, but it was
Yeah,
a cool little experiment, I think.
yeah, yeah. It's like, yeah, I didn't really have any thought on it except for
Yeah.
I was just wondering like why they did it, like, and
Yeah.
okay, that was it.
Yeah. Okay. So I just watched Psycho
Yeah.
with Vince Vaughn.
What's an interesting horror movie is I forgot what it was called. It's not called Nosferatu, is it? The original?
Yeah. The
Or is it?
silent one.
Yeah, is
Yeah.
that what it's
Hmm.
called? Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, that watching that for the first time, I had this they were selling it like for like $1 or something, and it had like typo negative music over it. So then I was like, okay, I've never seen it, but man, that movie's awesome. It's like the stuff that they were doing back
Yeah.
then, like all those special effects, it's crazy.
Yeah. That's wild. I show clips of it in my film class, just, because you I'm teaching a film class. I have to show a little bit of this movie, right? But
Yeah.
what's his Max Shrek, the vampire, like when he comes out and his fingers are all up. I've had, like 21st century digital natives are like, oh, I don't like this. This is scary.
It's cool too because like for Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula movie, like how he used stuff from a Nosferatu in it,
Yeah.
like all the like the shadow gags and stuff.
Yep.
I was like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, look at that. But yeah, like whenever I got into film, I kind of went back. I guess I was like it's like 17, 16 whenever I really started getting into film and really
Mm-hmm.
looking into how you can make a movie. It's like I went back to go watch like Voyage to the Moon, uh,
Mm-hmm.
Metropolis, and and stuff like that, and just seeing like this craziness that these guys were doing back then.
With
And then like you see like these rare like behind the scenes photos and stuff of like these massive like walls, that they would build and layer and all this stuff and how they would do it. And it's like it's crazy that there was like people back there thinking like that and actually doing stuff.
Yeah. It just, yeah, like with no computers, no. I mean, I think back to when I was in high school and what I did when I made movies. Like I didn't have two VCRs and a PlayStation hooked up like you, but like just like, you record it on the videotape and then you have to put it in that machine, and then like, now it's like, oh, here's my memory card with all my footage, just pop it in the computer. Like, how
Yeah.
did I ever do anything other than that?
Yeah. It's like I got my hands on some old reel to reel editing equipment once, and like this guy was showing me how to do it. And then like I don't know, maybe like 30 minutes later, I was like, okay, man, we don't have to do this. It's fine. We have computers now, it's like the snip and the tape, and then
Yeah, right.
I was like, no, 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 I'm good. I'm good. It's like I have
Oh,
a friend of mine too that decided he was going to be a little avant-garde and shoot his feature film on film. And I was like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, how are you gonna edit this? Well, whenever you get it developed, they just put it, they just digitize it, and
yeah.
then they send it back. And I'm like, well, why do you want to do that? Like, why didn't you just shoot it as clean as you could and put, a film filter over it,
Right.
and then
Like
there you go.
seems easier. Seems easier. Uh, uh,
Yeah, it's crazy. Um, so what is coming in your near future besides teaching this class on Saturday?
uh, I don't have much on the horizon this year. Like I said, hopefully this Halloween, the book, the four horror stories, will come out. But right now, I wrote a lot in 2020, but I didn't do much with that writing. So I'm I have a yearbook coming out in May that I do every single year at the high school where it's my best-selling product every year. Um, but yeah, not a
I have
lot.
people that well, I've had a few people ask me, so do you keep all the articles that you write for the newspaper? I'm like, dude, I've been doing this for like 5, 6 years, you know? I'm like, no, I don't care. I just write it, put it out. But then it's also cool because I get published every week, you know?
Yeah, that is cool. That's
Yeah,
super
and
cool.
whenever you were talking about like all the stuff you wrote,
Mhm.
yeah, going back to do it like a second draft, it's like I hate it. I hate it because it's like I like to sit down and just go for it and write my story, and then whenever
Yep.
it's done, I just want to toss it aside and work on the next one and work
Do
on the
another
next.
one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I have mixed feelings about the editing process, like I get that like 100%, like, oh, it's done. But sometimes you go back and you're like, I can, if I just make this little switch here, then that's pretty cool.
yeah, or like you. I know, like for me, because to be truthful, there has been plenty of times where I've been drinking while I'm writing, and and then I wake up in the morning and I'm like, wow, how did I get 20 pages? Like what are these pages? And then like you go back and read it and you're like, wow, that was pretty cool. But well, besides all the mistakes and misspellings, you're like, oh wow, that was kind of cool. How'd that happen? And then like you go and then you start going through it and you're like, oh, okay. Like I must have been just blown out of my mind, and like came up with all these cool things. And then it's like, okay, now I'll go back and incorporate those and tie everything in. And
Yep.
so yeah, I can't say that. I guess I can't say that I completely hate the second draft process, but it is a pain because do you have like a list of things that you want to write?
Nothing hard. Like I do. There are, you always get ideas, and some of the ideas disappear, and some of them you want to keep and you keep, and then you never do anything with, and then some of them you keep and you're going to get to someday. So yeah, I have some of those, but
Yeah.
I gotta finish a few other things and go from there.
My wife got tired of me leaving pieces of paper everywhere because I would scribble, ideas, and then they would pile up somewhere. So she actually got me a book, and so that I could write in and keep all
Nice.
my ideas in and stuff. So that's pretty full. Yeah, it's just yeah, it's just trying to find time to write, And then I started doing these interviews and putting them up on YouTube, which takes more time.
More
So it's
time,
like,
yeah.
yeah. Before we go, do you have any thoughts on like social media? Let me see. Writers on social media, like that you end up following. You're like, oh wow, they're a writer. Okay, I'll follow them. I'll follow them. Well, and then all they do is post like quotes about writing.
I mean, if they're good quotes, I'm cool.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't. I usually just like knee jerk will follow. Like if a writer follows me, I'll follow back.
yeah,
It's like this is the polite thing to do, I guess.
yeah,
I never
yeah.
really thought about it. Like,
Well, I don't know. I seem to be the only one that this bothers, because like, because yeah, like you want to connect with other writers and authors and things. So like you see like so and so author or so and so writer, and I'm
yeah,
like, okay, cool. Like I'll follow you and I'll see what you're doing. And like out of like those like 50 follows, there might be one that's an actual writer, and like 40 of them that just post inspirational quotes about writing, and then the
right.
other ones you just never hear from. And it's like, okay, yeah, I don't
When you
know.
put it like that, I'm like, yeah, I don't, I'm out on that.
And it's like one time I posted an inspirational quote, and then I felt like one of them. I was like, what? Like you took time, to do this. Like go write some sentences, like what are you doing? You're a writer. You're supposed to be writing. So yeah,
That
that's
makes
my
a lot of you. You've convinced me. I'm out on those guys. Totally out.
But yeah, I don't know. It's just it's like the only inspirational quote I'll ever need is and I don't even know who said it. It's just writers write. That's it.
That's a good one.
Because it's like I know a lot of friends that call themselves writers, but I'm like, well, what have you written? What are you, like, what are you doing? Like, and it's never anything. So,
oh, yeah, then you're not a writer, my guy.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just always stuck in my head. It's like writers write, but yet here I am talking to you instead of writing.
We're talking about writing, so that's like the next step. Like that's cool. I think that's cool.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, hey, is there anything else you want to add?
I don't think so. I mean, people should take my class. Hopefully they'll like it. Hopefully they'll learn something.
Do you have any social media things that you want to promote? Where people can
I mean,
find you?
it's all of my social media is just AE Stueve. So at AE Stueve, Twitter, Instagram. I think that's it. That's pretty much all I have.
Okay. Well, cool. I'll add all that in the description whenever the video comes up. I'm going to try to get the video up tomorrow.
Cool.
Instead of writing, I'll be editing.
That's a form of writing. That's how I look at it. This is a form of writing.
There you go. I'm going to go ahead and go with that.